right. Should I pull my sleeves up or leave them down? I feel like that's cutting off the circulation to my arms. I'm not gonna do that. No, you know what? I'm gonna go full sleeve. It's a full sleeve kind of day. I like that. Pop quiz. A server comes up to you, pours you a little taster of wine. How are you supposed to go about doing it with grace and gusto? No, it's not shooting it back, although I do admire your enthusiasm. I'm going to show you today the 3 steps to tasting like a pro. Hi friends, my name's Erin. I am the founder and chief sommelier here at the Wine Sisters, and this, of course, is our YouTube channel. This is the place where every week we show you how to eat, drink, and entertain like a pro. Well, we're in the midst of September, and this whole month our theme is back to wine school. Here in Toronto, I lead a wine school, and this mini series throughout the month has been inspired by some of the students that I've been teaching who are left a little bit confused about the ins and outs and the general mannerisms that happen in the wine world. And really, who can blame them? It can get to be a bit much. Hopefully we will dispel some of those myths. If not, we're gonna have a good time drinking at the very least. Last week, if you remembered, we went through the really quick steps of how to open a bottle, how to decant that bottle and why, as well as the proper level to pour, which if you didn't watch it, I have to tell you, it's not up to the brim. But you can scroll back to that video and get caught up. Do take some notes. Well, today I'm going to tell you a little bit about the 3-step process. I actually have a 4-step process to tasting the wine in a restaurant. And no, you don't have to go through all the sort of Mr. Bean, you know, those English comedies of somebody swirling and gargling like they're at the dentist. You can do this with a little bit more subtlety. Thank God. As we learned last week, when we're pouring a glass, we're going to be pouring it up to the widest portion of the glass. However, when you're at a restaurant, if you're the one who's going to be approving the bottle, the server or the som will only give you a taster. That's going to be about a ½ ounce to an ounce, just to make sure that it's to your liking so that you can approve or send back the bottle. So we're just going to pour ourselves the tiniest little pour. Don't worry, we get more. And we're going to do a couple of things. Now, I have a white cloth over here. It's got a little bit of red in it, but that's fine. What we're going to do is the first step. Step numero uno is to look at it. And it's not just to look at it. Now, here's the thing. I see people all the time. They're really pensively staring at it. Speak to me, wine. Talk to me, wine. Holding it up to the ceiling, holding it against the window. That is not what we want to do. What you want to do is you want to look at the wine, putting the base towards your tummy and the opening away from you almost on a full 90-degree angle. You obviously don't want the wine to spill out of the glass, obviously, but you want to be able to look at it, and you're going to look straight down through the base of the glass over a white surface. Now, why a white surface? Well, as you can see here, I've got a black countertop, I've got a wood board, I have, various, colors throughout my place. So if I were to hold it up to the window, I'd get one appreciation of color. If I were to hold it up over the black countertop, I get a completely other appreciation of color. So when we hold it above a white surface, and if you're at a restaurant, you'll have a side plate or the tablecloth or whatever it might be, you'll be able to do this. But we want that sort of pure view, that unadulterated view. Can you hear that? Cars beeping their horns like crazy outside. Welcome to Toronto living. People are losing their shit. So we're going to look at our wine above a white surface. You're going to be at a restaurant, so you'll probably have a white side plate or a tablecloth. I've got my little white tea towel here, and this is going to give us a better appreciation, a purer and sort of unadulterated view of the wine. Both reds and white wines, as they age, will get a little bit more oxidized and take on darker or more brown notes. Just like when you bite into an apple and you leave it on the counter and that white flesh starts to turn a little bit more brown. And that can be both a good or a bad thing depending on how old the wine is and if it's intended to age at all. Which reminds me, next week I'm going to be talking to you about storing wines for the long term. So put a little bookmark in this channel, hit subscribe, and come back to us next week as well so you can learn a little bit about long-term storage for your wine collection. So when we look at it, what we're looking to see is, does the color of the wine match the age that I think it is? So red wines, which I'm drinking right here, for example, will go from purple to ruby to garnet. Garnet is kind of like a maroon burgundy color, right through to that tawny brick color. White wines will go from pale water white to silvery green to lemon to gold and then into a real sort of amber color. So if you've ordered a relatively youthful wine and it's showing very brown undertones, that might be an indication that the wine hasn't been stored properly or something's gone wrong. You don't necessarily know, but it's going to give you a first visual cue. So that's what you're doing, is that you're just quickly looking at it, not taking very long at all. You're gonna give it a quick glance. It looks like it should, perfect. Now what we're going to do is we're going to nose the wine. Now, this is where everybody gets super excited because they get to swirl it and do that baller move, which is terrific, and I cannot say I blame you, but I like to do a two-parter to this. I'm a little bit extra, but I like to do what I call the drive-by. 1,000 years ago when I was getting my somm, there was something like 10% of the wines were faulted. That was either done through cork taint. You can find out more about cork taint at this video. There was a little bit of volatile acidity. Something was not quite right with the wine. But now, through a lot of research and development, wineries, they're pretty clean coming out. So there's much fewer bottles that do have something wrong with them, but it still happens. So what I like to do is I just give it a quick drive-by, just a quick one. This is not where I'm looking for the cherries and the plums, and the, flowers that have just been picked by the milkmaids on the side of a hill in Switzerland. This is just me saying, have I got the green light to move forward? Or, ooh, shoot, there's something that's gonna give me reason for taking a bit of pause here. In this case, this wine smells fine, and now what I can do is I can do that cool swirling move. Now, to swirl your wine, some people get very nervous about it. This is why it helps to hold it by the stem, because all you're doing is drawing little circles on the ceiling, and if you're nervous about that, you can just keep it firmly on the table and draw little circles with the base of your wine. What you don't want to do, my friends, is you don't want to grip it for dear life by the goblet and kind of like randomly shake it around. Don't do that. It just makes it look awkward for everybody, so skip it. If you can't quite do it, practice at home with a glass of water so it doesn't go sloshing and staining all over the place, but you're just gonna do it a little swirl with the stem. It's all in the wrist. So now what we're doing, the reason why we're swirling this, other than to look super cool, is the swirl allows those aromatics to come out. Now remember last week when we talked about decanting, we were talking about how pouring the wine from the bottle into a decanter allowed oxygen into it and allowed that wine to open up. This is basically working like a mini decant. By swirling it around, you're getting even more oxygen in there, and that's allowing those aromatics to come through. So once we've given it a quick swirl, you don't have to go on and on about it. What you do is you stick your schnoz right in there. Like, don't be shy. This is no time for being demure. You want to get the most out of it that you can. What I like to do as well is I hold my mouth slightly agape. I know there's a joke about mouth breathers in there somewhere, but by keeping your mouth slightly open, you're actually engaging your olfactory senses more, and you're almost tasting what you're smelling. It gives you a fuller appreciation of the wine. So just breathing deeply through your nose, keeping your mouth slightly agape, you can start to appreciate those nuances. The chocolate, the blackberry, the black cherry. There's a lovely florality here, whatever it is. And maybe if you're not quite at that extreme where you're able to pick out the different nuances of that wine, at least you're able to nose it, smell it, and know that it is wine. So you're just giving it a little smell. And at this point, this is where you're going to know whether or not the wine is faulted or clean, and that's technically all you need to do in terms of approving the wine. But everybody likes to have the assurance of the third step, and this is where we taste it. We've looked at it, it looks the color we need it to be, we've smelt it, it smells exactly like we think it should, perfect, and now we're going to taste it. And this is where we get into that little gargle sized, that little showmanship where you swish it around, but it doesn't have to be a huge production. I mean, you can make it a big production if you want to. I mean, why the heck not? It's your wine, it's your time, do whatever you want. But all you're going to do is take a gargle sized amount into your mouth. You're gonna swish it all over your palate, and that includes the roof of your mouth, your cheeks, your tongue, so you can really fully appreciate the tasting. Then you're gonna push it towards the front of your palate, and then breathe in as if breathing through a straw. Now you definitely wanna practice this one at home because something can go wrong. somebody's definitely gonna choke, somebody might drool on themselves, you'll be concentrating so hard on not choking or drooling on yourself that you'll forget to actually taste the wine. But when you are doing this, you're actually looking for the balance of the wine. We're gonna talk about this in a couple of classes. We're gonna talk a little bit about the structures of wine and how it works with food and wine pairing. So do make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can be alerted, and the bell, I think, hit the bell, so that way you can be alerted when those new videos come out. This is going to allow you to fully appreciate it. Let me demonstrate. All right, so we've looked, nosed again. Everything's so far so good, and here we go. Do you like when I look into your eyes when I do that? That's a tasty little number. No wonder it got 92 from decanter. And at that point, we know for sure whether we like the wine or we don't, and we can either signal on to our server to keep pouring for the table. They will pour the host last because we're the host and we want to make sure our guests are well taken care of, or we send it back if we detect a flaw. And in good restaurants, you can send your wine back. Any restaurant that's worth its salt with a good wine list, with a good somm, they want you to be happy. And if you do detect a flaw, the somm will work through it with you. Most of the time, they're just going to take it back and get you something because they want you to be happy. They want you to return, because ultimately it's a business, and when you return, so does your money. So that's just a little side issue. Never feel ashamed about sending a wine back that you don't like. It happens a lot. Well, not a lot, but it happens frequently enough that it's not going to, really upset somebody, or at least it shouldn't. And that's it, my friends. I hope you learned a little something from that. To repeat, we look, we smell, we swirl, we smell again, then we taste it, and then we move on to our company. If you have any questions about this or any of our other videos, please leave the comments and the questions below. I promise I will get back to you as soon as I can. And like I've said, do subscribe, do hit that bell, leave us a positive review. It really helps us climb those algorithm charts. And you know how badly we need to win that algorithm. It's a constant battle. It makes you want to drink. Anyway, friends, we will see you next week. And until then, stay well, drink better.